can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Crowder's back. That's wild. Hey there. Welcome to Vince. Good to have you with us on a Wednesday in our beautiful country. I've got a lot to get to. I've been working the phones like crazy this morning, a lot to share with you, what I'm learning in the midst of Obama's treason. President Trump finally getting the media to cover that saga, and Congressman Brandon Gill joins us on another busy edition of Vince. I'm so glad you're here. Best damn audience in media. All right, here we go. What if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? Have you ever considered that? Maybe not. Well, now's your chance. That's right. Imagine putting those 2 payments in your pocket and finally get a little bit of breathing room. It's possible when you call American Financing today. If you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas, bills piling up, you're not alone. Most Americans are putting these expenses on a credit card, and there really doesn't seem to be a way out. Well, American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off that debt. You need to call American Financing today before you get to the point where you can't make those payments. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans and consolidate debt, all without upfront fees. And their customers are saving an average of $800 a month. That's a $10,000 raise. It's fast, it's simple, and it could save your budget this summer. Call now before it's too late. 888-879-6460. That's 888-879-6460. AmericanFinancing.net/Vince, NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Here's a detail that you and I have talked about, but I feel like the rest of the country is not quite where we are on this subject. So I'd like to emphasize something really important about Russiagate. I just want to do this right away this morning. Tulsi Gabbard began declassifying massive tranches of information starting last Friday. Those disclosures are continuing through this week. The President of the United States and Tulsi Gabbard, I'll get to clips of them coming up, talking about how there's so much more coming out. But I want to dwell for just a moment on what she exposed on Friday. And in summary, it's really simple. A lot of people have been complicating it. I'll simplify it as much as humanly possible. The Obama administration knew that Russia did not steal the election for Trump. Russia had no impact whatsoever on the election, and it's pathetic to even claim that. They were going to put that into the presidential daily brief on December 9th of 2016. They didn't. They scrapped the briefing. And instead, all of the corrupt Obama officials got together and hatched a plan to try and salt the earth for the incoming Trump administration. But here's what everybody is missing about the December 9th aborted presidential daily brief. Guess who that brief is written for? Yes, it's written for Obama. Guess who else it was written for? Trump. The presidential daily brief on December 9th of 2016 was supposed to be delivered to 2 presidents, President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump. That brief was never published. The brief that said Russia didn't steal the election, that Trump didn't collude with Russia, that Russia had no impact on votes whatsoever, it was never given to President Trump. The point of that December 9th, 2016 aborted presidential daily brief was to avoid President Trump seeing it. It is as simple as that. If you go back to Friday and what Tulsi revealed, that detail, unfortunately, was not included in what I thought was a stunning recitation of the facts that she did a perfectly good job presenting, but they didn't include that one element. And I think it is so important that people understand that. The presidential daily brief was supposed to go to Trump, and it didn't. Because what we know would have happened is obvious. If the left all of a sudden started coming out and going, oh, yeah, Russia stole the election. They did it for Trump, and Trump colluded with them. The second they start saying that, President Trump could pick up the presidential daily brief that he had been issued and say, guys, That never happened. You wrote it down that that never happened. Here's the evidence for it. But they didn't do that. So in case you're wondering about all of this, and I checked, I confirmed with people who know what's going on here. I've confirmed as of this morning that the president was definitely receiving the presidential daily briefing. That is President Trump by that point. And it was kept from him. That is the screaming lead from that component of the scandal. And in fact, I've shared it this morning on X so people can see this. I wrote, here's something completely underappreciated from Tulsi's disclosures. The reason the Obama team refused to publish that December 9th, 2016 PDB that showed Russia didn't steal the election is because Trump would have seen it. President-elect Trump started receiving the presidential daily briefing on November 15th of 2016. Trump receives first presidential daily brief. CNN reported at the time. Jim Acosta's on the byline. November 15th, 2016. He's the new guy. He gets them every day, except for when they refuse to give him the presidential daily brief, which is what they did. So keep this in mind as you process all of this. I don't know if it's difficult for any of us or for you to explain this to your friends and family when they're like, well, what's the scandal here? What is Obama accused of doing? They knew Russia didn't steal the election. They knew Trump didn't collude, and then they lied about it, and they kept that information from Trump. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And that brings us to yesterday. The president of the United States is now talking openly about treason, saying that President Obama is guilty of it, that it's his fault. He's guilty of treason. Here's the president of the United States yesterday declaring that Obama committed treason, and, well, the media immediately jumped all over this. Take a look.
Who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it.
This man has seen some pretty rough countries. The president of the United States sitting next to the president of the Philippines yesterday in the Oval Office. That was President Bong Bong. No, I didn't make that up. That's his nickname, President Bong Bong. He goes by Bong Bong, which is hilarious and wonderful. So President Bong Bong was in the Oval Office yesterday. As President Trump said that President Barack Hussein Obama is guilty of treason. Let me tell you why this is a beautiful statement from the President of the United States and why it is so thoroughly effective. There's some depth to what he did there that you don't see at first blush. Now, this idea that you can find Obama himself guilty of treason or any other number of crimes, it's irrelevant for the president's purposes yesterday. It's irrelevant. It's not about the statutory definition of treason. It's not about the constitutional definition of treason. What the president just pulled off yesterday was convincing the American news media to talk about this story at all. Through the weekend, they barely talked about it. To the extent that the legacy press covered this story, it was to just sort of mock Tulsi Gabbard and just dispense with it. They didn't want to waste any time with it. It was like NPR, the Hunter Biden story. We don't want to waste our readers' time with stuff that doesn't matter, was the attitude that our media took going into yesterday. But when the president sat in the Oval Office yesterday and he said, Obama is guilty of treason, I could see it coming a million miles away. I saw what happened. I was doing the radio show. I was sitting in this position yesterday doing our radio show as the president said, yeah, Obama committed treason. And I looked over my shoulder and I've got televisions over here. Fellas, give me the, can you pull this other camera to show the TV bay that I've got over here? I've got this like news mix on television. Yeah, that's right. You picked the right camera, but I've got to show the thing over here. I've got this news bay over here, and I look over my shoulder, and all of a sudden, all of the television channels, there you go, all of the television channels are suddenly locked on what just happened in the Oval Office. What just happened? And all of the chyrons are saying that Trump just accused Obama of treason, and all the chyrons are attacking Trump. They're treating him like complete garbage for this. But what has happened is the media, for the first time, have decided to dive into this story because they think they can use it to take down Trump. Now, you and I have watched this happen over and over and over again. How does this usually go? How does this always go? Let me correct that. It goes, they engage in the story, they tell a bunch of lies, they make it worse for themselves, and the American people become all the more aware of the sins of the American left that the president just rubbed a highlighter all over. I know people often trying to interpret everything that, not everything, but some people do. They think that everything President Trump does is 4D chess. I'm definitely not one of those. I don't think that every move he's taking is thinking through 15 moves ahead or anything like that. But I do know that the president has a well-established ability, like a cat and a laser pointer, to focus that laser pointer and all of a sudden get the media to leap all over it. And he did it again yesterday by accusing Obama of treason. The media right away jumping on this. ABC, Trump accuses Obama of treason in the Oval Office. These are headlines I'm reading for you. Reuters, Trump accuses Obama of treason in escalating attacks over 2016 Russia probe. New York Times, Trump escalates attacks on Obama and Clinton as questions swirl about Epstein. CNN, Trump accuses Obama of treason. Annotated, that's another way of saying CNN's going to try to explain all this away. Daily Beast, CNN panelists clash over Trump accusing Obama of treason. I'm not going to calm down. Some panelists freaked out. Axios, MAGA demands arrests after Trump accuses Obama of treason. He did it. He did it again. He convinced them to cover it, which is great, which is wonderful. I love how this is going. For his part, President Obama, former President Obama, has released a statement now promising that he didn't commit treason. A defensive statement from Barack Obama. Barack Obama has dispatched a spokesman now, a rare statement from Obama. The media is treating this like Moses is descending with the 10 Commandments or something. Former President Barack Obama's spokesman responded Tuesday to President Trump's allegations that Obama took part in a plot to subvert the Trump 2016 victory. What they definitely did is not even an allegation anymore. At a Tuesday Oval Office press conference, Trump called for his DOJ to target Obama based on the allegations, accusing the former president of being guilty of treason. Obama's spokesman, Patrick Rodenbush. What's that? What kind of name is that? Rodenbush. He wrote that Trump's White House was spewing outrageous assertions. Out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response, Rosenbush wrote. But these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. He goes on to say that nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intel Committee led by then-Chairman Marco Rubio. By the way, on that point, the left keeps pointing to this report. Marco Rubio said this, I'd like the Secretary of State, the new and improved version of Mighty Marco, to step up to a microphone at some point and slam dunk this into the earth. Wouldn't you like to see that? That would be good. I mean, he's going to have to do it at some point. At some point, he's going to be in front of a microphone and the press is going to try and bait him into some sort of question. Secretary Rubio now should just step up in front of a microphone and just dunk the whole thing. Just dunk it. Just come out, join the chorus, accuse Obama of treason here. So Obama's defensive. Does that tell you anything? Obama's suddenly defensive about all of this. He had to bring out Rodenbush to defend him. To say, no, everything's fine. We didn't do anything wrong. When, of course, there's a mountain of evidence demonstrating that they did something wrong. We have information now about, just in the last few weeks, about how James Comey and John Brennan colluded with one another to force the disgusting and fake Steele dossier into the intelligence community assessment. That was Comey and Brennan who did that. The public record now affirmatively shows. We know that. We also know, thanks to some wonderful reporting from Molly Hemingway at the Federalist this week, that John Brennan was being told by his top Russia experts that there was nothing to support the idea that the Russians had meddled in the election to help Trump, that they had aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances. That's here in the Federalist this week. Molly Hemingway. This is exclusive information that they obtained. The senior intelligence officials pointed out the lack of evidence to substantiate the claim. We have no intelligence to directly support this aspiration point, said one member of the small group of individuals working with John Brennan and with James Comey and with James Clapper on that assessment of Russian activity leading up to the 2016 election. This Russia expert worried that the inclusion of the claim would open the intelligence community to a line of very politicized inquiry that is sure to come up when this paper is shared with The Hill. At one point, an official asking in the meetings, can you really prove Moscow was trying to get Trump elected? They asked in late December of 2016. This would have been after the Obama team at the highest levels had coordinated that they were going to take down Trump in this way. Brennan called the dissenting individuals into his office on December 30th of 2016. Again, these are the Russia experts. And he had a lengthy meeting in which they articulated their serious concerns. The assessment will stay the same, Brennan reported at the end of the meeting. What? So again, let me get this straight. And you help me process this, will you, Chap? If you're the top Russia experts at the CIA, why would the CIA director have a better read on what's going on than the person who's devoted their life to getting the answers out of their area of interest? So the Russia experts come in and they go, no, there's no proof here that Moscow was trying to get Trump elected. We can't assert that. Why would we assert that? We can't assert that. There's no proof Trump was colluding with Russia. There's no proof at all that Russia rigged the election or stole it for Donald Trump. There's no proof of any of this, the Russia experts would say. And John Brennan responded, the assessment will stay the same. That's not based on intelligence. That's based on a corrupt intent. That's based on a conspiracy. That's based on an effort to salt the earth for the incoming president of the United States, to leave the public with the impression that he was corrupt, that he was not the authentic president, that it was stolen from Hillary Clinton. That's what that is. That's what that evidence demonstrates to us. And so, is there evidence that would support a criminal prosecution of all of these people? 100%. And we should go beyond simply congressional prosecutions here. We should have full-blown January 6th committee-style hearings over the top of all of this. The United States needs to heal from these sins. There's already a talking point going on across the media right now, and you can laugh at it just like I do. You can belly laugh at it when you see it. That, President Trump is weaponizing the justice system against his political opponents. Look, he accused them of using the justice system as a weapon against him, and now he's doing it too. He shouldn't do that. It's all horse crap. It's all just complete garbage. If people violate laws, they should be held accountable. Trump was accused of doing things that he never did. He was indicted on a hoax basis over and over and over again. The left abused their power. So what are the rest of us supposed to do with that? We're supposed to sit back and go, okay, just let it happen? We can't prosecute them because they prosecuted us? What kind of insane logic is that? It's about doing what's right, going after people who broke the law, holding them accountable. and restoring order to the United States of America. Now, in order to do this, not only do you need declassification and a robust investigation by the FBI, which we now know is happening at the hands of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, what you need are prosecutions. What you need are prosecutors who are going to go after this. And I'm here to tell you that that part of the story is the most troubling part of the story. I'll get into the details why next here on Vince. A lot more ahead. I've been using the Bone Charge infrared sauna blanket and red light face mask ever since they sent them to me. I can't recommend them enough. I first turned to that sauna blanket to help with muscle recovery, detoxification. It's been a total game changer. It's easy to use. You can just wrap yourself up and let that infrared heat work its magic. I've noticed a huge difference for me in how I relax and rejuvenate and how I feel afterward. And that red light face mask, my wife loves it. Allison thinks it's very impressive. It's helped her a lot. It improves your skin's texture. It reduces inflammation. It creates fantastic results. It's like having a mini spa treatment right at the house. So now if you're thinking at all about trying either of these things out, you're in luck. Head to bonecharge.com, BONcharge.com. Use the code Vince at checkout, and you're going to get 15% off. Both of these products have made a huge impact on helping my routine, my wife's routine. I'm sure you're going to love them too. Use the code Vince at bonecharge.com and save 15%. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. All right. One more on disclosures and declassification. Tulsi Gabbard's still doing it. We're getting more information coming out even as we speak. Here's Tulsi Gabbard reacting last night to Obama's statement that she says is just complete garbage. They've got the evidence to disprove it. And saying more documents are coming. Here's Tulsi.
We will be releasing further documents tomorrow that will refute that statement. And I would go back and point to, and we will be pulling a whole host of statements that were made by the Obama administration, by Hillary Clinton, by senior Democrat officials, by their friends in the media that state over and over again after this January 2017 manufactured intelligence document was created that repeat the narrative. There is a vast body of evidence and intelligence that debunks and refutes this statement you've just read and others coming from some of the Democrat leaders in Congress today.
The vast body of evidence that refutes all of the garbage you're hearing from these Democrats. I kind of like this. In a way, I like the phased release that's going on here. Go ahead, mount your defense. What do you want to say for yourself? I didn't do that. We did this. Oh, really? Because we have this other document we're declassifying now that shows you're lying again. Yeah, keep on doing that. Just keep hitting them over the head with these declassifications. And then, of course, get to the level where you prosecute these guys. Now, here's the issue with the prosecutions. This is something that everyone needs to know about, and I'm here to tell you the future. Get ready for the fight that's coming. We have something coming towards us like a speeding bullet train that is not going to be comfortable to deal with. The President of the United States does not have a single Senate-confirmed U.S. attorney in the entire country right now. Not one. Yeah, I know. It's crazy that we're at this point. The Senate has been dragging its feet with confirmations. They haven't been getting stuff done anywhere near as quickly as they should be. In the federal judiciary, as of this week, one federal judge has been confirmed. One Trump appointee has been confirmed. In the United States Department of Justice, 9 officials have been confirmed. 9. That includes the Attorney General of the United States. That's the director of the FBI, and 7 others. But that's it, just 9 people. And there's a lot more to go. Among the U.S. attorneys, we have 0. In fact, the way the president has had to operate with the U.S. attorneys is he's got to just interim appoint them right now. He's just appointing these guys, and they get to serve 120-day terms. The problem, as you can see, is 120 days is not even a year. Heck, it's not even half a year. It's nothing. 120 days is nothing. It's over in no time. And that's already been the case. Remember, the D.C. U.S. attorney was Ed Martin. Great guy, Ed Martin, who, by the way, I'd like to hear more from. He's the head of the weaponization group at the Justice Department. He said he was going to come back on this show a ton. And not for a lack of trying. We've been trying to get him. we haven't been able to get him. What is going on? I'd like to see Ed Martin back in public talking a lot more again. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that in another time. But also, there's a guy on the West Coast. His name's Bill Asaley. He's the U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California. For those of you who are good at geography, the Central District of California includes Los Angeles. Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a sanctuary city inside of a sanctuary state. It is a lawless place, with the one exception of the U.S. Attorney, who's currently doing a very good job enforcing the laws that are at his disposal. Bill Asaley has come up with a brilliant way to arrest illegals in the sanctuary jails in Los Angeles. And it's very straightforward. If they have entered the country multiple times, they are guilty of a felony. It's called felony reentry. Bill Asaley has been issuing warrants. He's been getting warrants in order to arrest these people. That means that the jails can't merely ignore a detainer request from ICE. It is under force of law that they have to honor the warrants. So it's been awesome. Bill Asaley's been able to deport a lot of people from Los Angeles who normally would have been able to just escape because it's a sanctuary city. He's done a great job. Here's the issue. He's an interim pick. And as of next Wednesday, July 30th, he's gone. No more Bill Asaley. This problem is immense. And it's not just because the president has to keep on finding new interim U.S. attorneys, which is the case right now. But it's also because if you want to launch prosecutions against these people, if you want to go after Obama, if you want to go after Brennan, if you want to go after Comey, if you want to go after Hillary, just take your pick. If you want to go after any of these guys, you need federal prosecutors in place to do the job. And not only do they need to be in place, they need to be in place long enough to see the case through. To impanel the grand jury, get the indictments going, get the trial going, secure the conviction, get to sentencing. In order to do that, you and I both know that that takes time that none of these interim U.S. attorneys have. Not a single one of them. They can't do it. So what we need are full-time, actual Senate-confirmed U.S. attorneys. That's what we need. And so this is why right now you see the president has made a big case. The Senate cannot go into recess. They're about to leave entirely. Don't go anywhere. Stay here and get these confirmations done. Get these confirmations done. Now, even if the Senate stays in session, will every Republican senator stick around to make sure that these confirmations get through? Not necessarily. Susan Collins, who is a Republican senator from the blue state of Maine, doesn't really have any interest in sticking around for recess. She may decide she wants to go home anyway. Nope, I don't feel like it. I want to go home. Lisa Murkowski will probably go home to Alaska anyway. I don't care. I'm going home. Vote without me. And one after the other. I talked to one source this week who said that Chuck Grassley is only so biologically capable of doing his job. He's an elderly man. Are we going to keep him at work 7 days a week to vote on confirmations? Now, my preference is, yeah, if you're a U.S. senator, you should be there doing it. But the word is like, what if we kill him? What if he dies as a result of all of that work? Well, I don't want that to happen, but I do want him to confirm all of these important positions, these U.S. attorneys. Our country depends on it. Time is of the essence. So the chat is detecting where I think we should go next. The president is being generous with the Senate here, saying, do your job. Stay. Do your job. I respect you as a branch of government. Here's what I want to see them do, because I don't know if we have any more options here. I want to see them go into recess. I want the United States Senate to go into recess as soon as possible. And the reason for that is because the president can do this without them. In our Constitution, the founders envisioned that there was going to be times when Congress wasn't in the nation's capital. And for obvious reasons, they have to go home to their home districts. And especially back in the day, pre-air conditioning, the August recess meant that you could escape to cooler climates and get out of the actual swamp. Kind of the point. But if Congress isn't in town, how does the president do the job if it would require congressional intervention back in the days that preceded the internet? Well, the answer to that is recess appointments. The president of the United States has a power called a recess appointment, where when Congress is in recess, he can actually name someone to a Senate-confirmed position. That person can be recess appointed and stay there for 2 full years, without the Senate being involved at all, other than to be on recess. If the president wants to get this done now, which of course he does, and if the Senate has any inclination to help him, which they should go into a full-blown recess. Now, here's one of the pieces about recess that nobody tells you, or very few do. Even when they do go into recess, they don't technically go into recess. There's a trick in Washington. They claim they're in recess, but they stay in what's called a pro forma session. Every 3 days, they smack the gavel and they claim that the Senate is still doing some sort of business. That tactic is only designed to prevent the president of the United States from using the recess appointment. That's it. It's meant to keep the Senate in a phony state of business so that the president can't exercise a constitutional power that's afforded to him. Republicans, John Thune, you should not play that game. You should not even be bothering with that game. Go home, get the vacation everybody wants. They claim it's the August recesses so they can hang out with their constituents and find out what's going on. I don't really believe them. I think it's mostly just vacation time. But whatever. You want to go on vacation? You want to go sip a margarita? You want to go hang out on the beach? Do it. But go into a full-blown recess of the United States Senate. Let the president get his picks through. Because if we want law and order in this country, we need prosecutors with cojones who can actually go after criminals, to include criminals at the highest levels of the government in the past, including in the Obama administration. This has to be done. So that's really key here. One last thing on Senate confirmations that not a lot of people know about. I mentioned Bill Asaley from the U.S. Attorney from the Central District of California. He was talking this week with Glenn Beck about this, and this is such a resonant point I need you to know about. Blue slips. Blue slips. It's such a stupid thing, but the United States Senate has it. Here's the tradition in the Senate. If your home state senator doesn't want a U.S. attorney in their state, a specific person, they can veto them. Yes, that's right. That's the power that each of these senators have. So, give you the perfect example here. California has 2 senators, both Democrats. One of them, Adam Schiff. The other, up until recently, nobody knew who he was, Alex Padilla. So we got Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla, who are the senators from California. They have veto power over any federal appointments among the judiciary and the U.S. attorneys. It's called a blue slip. So Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla can say, we don't want Bill Asaley to be the full-time U.S. attorney in the Central District of California. And the way it works right now in the Senate is they say, okay, then he's not going to be the guy. That is insane. It's totally bonkers that that's the process. And it is. And what it means is that in blue states like California, good people can't get that job full-time. It means that in blue states like New York, good people can't get that job full-time. Notice what's happening with Alina Habba right now. It's a huge battle just to pick a good U.S. attorney to hold that seat. The Trump administration wants Alina Habba there. Judges are right now fighting to stop that from happening. This can all be settled if the Senate would just confirm her. If the Senate would go into recess and the president can make a recess appointment. There are ways to conquer this. But I am telling you that you need to prepare for the news cycle that's going to ensue in the next few weeks. We are hurtling towards chaos on the prosecution question. And if you like the state of the economy, I do. And if you like the state of our immigration system, how it's improving so much better, how the border is all secure, I do. I like all of that. And if you're looking for the next step, which is accountability for the people who are hurting our country, whether they're street criminals all the way up to White House criminals, the only way you get that is if you have prosecutors in place. And this story is about as big as it gets. I've got more ahead. We've got Congressman Brandon Gill joining us here on Vince. Love this guy. He's a great congressman from Texas. He'll be here in just a moment. You guys know I don't just slap my name on anything. I only back up what I truly believe in. And this is why I'm very pumped to have Blackout Coffee as a sponsor. I actually met the owner, John. He's a great dude. He's the real deal. He built Blackout Coffee from the ground up. And he doesn't compromise on quality or values. This is America First Coffee. It's roasted fresh right here in the United States. There's no woke nonsense, just bold, strong coffee for people who actually get stuff done. And as you know, Blackout Coffee has been the official coffee of everybody here at Silverlock. So you do know this is a brand that stands for the right values. And frankly, Blackout makes a great cup of coffee. I love their values and I love the quality of their product. It's awesome. Here's the deal. John is hooking you up as well. You can head over to blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince. That's VINCE. And you're going to get 20% off your first order. Whether you like whole bean, ground, or even instant coffee that doesn't suck, Blackout Coffee has you covered. Support a company that actually shares your values. Blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince, and you're going to get 20% off your first order, baby. Blackout Coffee. Thank you to Blackout. Love having these guys. They're a great sponsor of the program. Thank you also to, the Pocket Hose Copperhead, which is really cool. Pocket Hose. I love this company. This episode is sponsored by Pocket Hose. It is the world's #1 expandable hose. You know, those old-fashioned hoses, they can be troublesome. They can get kinks, creases at the spigot. It'd be a mess to put away. Yeah, they're difficult to handle sometimes. But the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot, the Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. And then when you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose, it just shrinks right back down to pocket size, which makes it effortless. It's super light, easy to handle, really neat storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed up with a 10-year warranty. 10 years. The brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is really a total game changer. I love using it because it makes it easy. I've got all these plants I keep around right outside my back door on my patio. I'm always trying to water everything, keep it alive. We've had a very hot summer. And, I get done with the watering. I can put the thing away in 2 seconds flat. It's really, really convenient. When time is of the essence, you definitely want a Pocket Hose. For a limited time, my listeners can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text Vince to 64,000. That's Vince to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Vince to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details at pockethose.com. Pocket Hose. Yes, indeed. In the chat, Rainforest says, more important than having prosecutors in place is ending the judicial coup. Rogue judges will just dismiss the cases with prejudice, giving the double jeopardy protection. Yeah, it's a good point, Rainforest, which is why it's so important for us to see these cases brought in the correct districts. This is why I've been talking about how this can't come to New York. New York for sure, but it also can't come to Washington, D.C., because it's just a rigged judicial process, a rigged jury process, which is not designed in order to reach a fair outcome. It's designed to reach an unfair outcome on behalf of Democrats. You can't have that. So it would be far better if you're going to bring these prosecutions to go to someplace like Florida. Go to Florida. And the way you have to do that is demonstrate that some element of the crime was committed there, bring the case in Florida, and then we're off to the races. So yeah, no, stopping the judicial coup is a huge, huge piece of this. Tactical prosecutions in tactical districts are the only way that you're going to conquer that problem. So that matters a great deal. Keep your eyes open for that. All right. Joining me right now from the great state of Texas, Congressman Brandon Gill is here on the program. Congressman Gill, thanks so much for joining me today. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, you've had a lot of busyness going on. I want to ask you about, first and foremost, about what's going on looking back at the Obama administration right now and the way that these guys really turned the weapons of government against the American people for voting for President Trump in the first place. I know you've been paying special attention to the fact that James Comey and John Brennan are under investigation, reportedly right now, for forcing a lie into the intelligence community assessment, that they colluded to put the Steele dossier into this thing. What should we know about this story?
Yeah, it's first of all, thanks for having me on the show, but it's amazing whenever you get people who are committed to the truth like Tulsi Gabbard in Washington, who want to expose what happened over the past 8 or 10 years. And she's been releasing classified documents. Over the past few days, we're still going through them. There's a whole lot of information there, new information that came out this morning. But here's the gist of it, is that we've known for a little while that the Russia collusion hoax was just that. It was a hoax. It was a lie about President Trump, intended to slander him, to undermine his presidency, to thwart his agenda and stop him from doing what voters elected him to do. Now what we're finding out is that the intelligence community, Clapper and Comey and others, knew that it was a lie, that they originally had intelligence which said from their community that President Trump did not in fact collude with Russia, that Russia was not intending and did not have the ability to influence US elections. They had that information. They did not release it. Instead, they manufactured new information, suggesting otherwise based on the Steele dossier and other hoaxes. Knowing that, and then they leaked that information to the press, and then it went on from there. What we're learning now is that Obama directed them to get new information, and then it went out into the public. This is one of the biggest scandals in American history. Again, we're still going through this. There's a lot of information that we've got to get, but this was a manufactured attempt, a manufactured coup to undermine a democratically elected president and effectively stop him from implementing his agenda.
Yeah, no, it's completely outrageous. And the more that I've thought about it, the more that I realize, like, what Tulsi Gabbard revealed on Friday to begin with is so completely shocking. The fact that the Obama team didn't publish the presidential daily brief was not designed to hide some sort of detail behind closed doors. The rest of us don't get to receive the presidential daily brief. The reason they didn't do it is because Trump was receiving it. Trump was the elected president of the United States at that point. They didn't want the Trump team to see that Russia did not rig the election, Congressman.
No, that is exactly right. And, this is one of those things that we all knew was a hoax. We had gotten enough information. We realized the Steele dossier was fake, that it was based on politicized intelligence. But now we're learning more and more just how deep the deep state actually goes, and the degree to which institutions that the American people should have real trust in, should be able to believe, should be able to think that these people are on our side and are committed to the truth, that really wasn't the case under President Obama.
President Trump yesterday said treason, that this is treason. Not surprisingly, for the first time in the last week, suddenly the media are covering this story, Congressman. It seems like President Trump has somehow, once again, tricked the media into finally covering a story that they desperately didn't want to.
Yeah, it reminds me of, in this past election cycle, President Biden's health. Everybody in America knew that his mental health was declining. We could see it on camera. We knew it long before the famous debate with President Trump, where Biden's eyes were glazed over, where he couldn't finish a sentence, where he was slurring his words the entire time. But for months before that, we knew what was going on, and the media lied about it, and they just built up this house of cards, trying to tell us, don't believe the evidence of your eyes and ears, and eventually that collapses under the weight of real obvious information. And that's what we're seeing here, that the media built up a lie that President Trump had colluded with Russia, that Vladimir Putin wanted President Trump to win, that he interfered directly and on a large scale in U.S. elections. That was a lie, and now we're getting the information that completely crumbles all of that.
Okay, so what is your expectation in terms of whether these guys are going to be held accountable? There's a lot of pessimism on the right. People, they keep hearing these things, a lot of investigations. We know a lot of the information. We've seen this for years. And so the big thing is, like, where's the accountability? How concerned are you about that question? And are you convinced that the United States Department of Justice is going to do the job that the rest of us are hoping they do?
I have full confidence in the Trump administration and Tulsi Gabbard in the DOJ to go after this. Right now, we're in the fact-finding phase. We've got more information from Tulsi Gabbard. I think we need to be having hearings on the Oversight and Judiciary Committees, both of which I sit on, by the way, to bring these people in before Congress, put them under oath, and ask them what was going on here. What did you know and when? When did you know that the Russia collusion hoax was a hoax? It asked them about the faulty intelligence that they used. Ask them about the intelligence that they originally had, which told them that that this hoax wasn't really real. That President Trump was not colluding with Russia. Let's get all the information. Let's collect it, and then it's up to the DOJ to follow through with prosecutions if we can find if there were violations of the law. But I have full faith that if there was illegal activity, that is going to be prosecuted.
Do you think there should be a January 6th style committee to hover over all of this? Should some extraordinary step be taken by Congress, given how extraordinary these violations of our constitutional rights have been?
I think that's something we should consider. We should look into that. I don't think that any option should be off the table at this point.
Okay. Yeah, this is a huge one. This is really, really a big one. Okay, so the August recess is about to begin in earnest. People are going to go home. There's been, this week, the media is making a lot of hay out of the fact that the House of Representatives, led by Speaker Johnson, decided not to vote on some sort of release of Epstein files. Speaker Johnson said the reason for that is because the Justice Department's actually doing it right now. The Justice Department is seeking grand jury evidence. They want this released right away. We heard from Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, yesterday that he's actually going to go personally interview Ghislaine Maxwell to get information out of her. Can you just give us a sense of what's actually happening? What don't people understand about the headlines they're seeing on this?
Well, first of all, as you mentioned, President Trump has committed to transparency. The DOJ is committed. They're going to be talking to Ghislaine Maxwell. They have committed to releasing grand jury testimony. Now, I serve on the House Oversight Committee. We voted just yesterday to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell so that we can talk to her as well. So this is all moving in the right direction so that we can get transparency for the American people, so that we can get justice. I think that there's a big public interest in knowing to the extent that we can, because a lot of this is still under investigation. Of course, there are victims involved here that we need to protect. There's information related to things about children that shouldn't be public, and I think everybody agrees with that. But to the extent that we can release this information, I think that the public needs to know what was going on here. But it is moving in the right direction, and we've got a lot to do whenever we come back.
But in the last 24 hours, I've seen a ton of headlines claiming that Speaker Johnson is trying to prevent this information from coming out. He's stopping everybody from voting to release the Epstein files. Is that your impression?
That is not. What we're saying is that we're not going to allow Democrats to politicize this process. So Democrats have jumped all over this in an attempt to attack President Trump. And remember, Democrats have had 4 years under the Biden administration to demand this. You didn't hear a peep from them. And now all of a sudden they're interested in releasing all of this information. What we're saying is let's release it, but let's do so in a responsible way to make sure that we can protect victims and make sure that we're doing this in a way that upholds the integrity of our legal system. That's what we're working on. So the president has committed to transparency. We're working with him on that in the House, but we're wanting to make sure that we do this in the right way.
Okay, let me talk about some other things that the House of Representatives has to deal with. We saw a rescissions package go through the House, relatively easy. It got through the Senate, very difficult, but it made it $9 billion in cuts. Thank the good Lord, finally making it through the Congress. Do you think the White House is going to send any more of these over? Because it was like pulling teeth to get the first one done.
I do. I was at the White House last night for a reception celebrating the big, beautiful bill, and I was discussing this with a few different White House officials. There will be more rescission packages coming. And remember, the beauty of a rescission bill is that it allows us to claw back spending that's already been appropriated. And what's great about it is that it only requires 50 votes in the Senate, so we don't have to work with Democrats. Democrats will spend money on anything and everything, regardless of what it is. So we're able to rein in that spending. Usually, a lot of this is going to egregiously woke projects, but there will be more. The rescission package that we passed and the president signed into law just last week or the week before was the first of many that we're going to have. I think that The next one, I think, maybe even bigger than the last one that we passed. That one was about $9 billion. So there's a lot more to go here.
I'm looking forward to it, but here's the trick. This audience is familiar with something called pocket rescissions. We've been talking about this a lot. And the idea is basically that the White House would wait until about August 18th, not that far away, and then fire off this rescissions package. And because the fiscal year will end about exactly 45 days later, it doesn't even matter if Congress votes on it. So is that the format? Are you expecting the White House is going to wait until about mid-August to send these rescission packages?
We'll see what they do on the pocket rescissions. I'll leave that up to them. I would like to see Congress vote on as many of these as possible. And the reason is so that we can show the American people that we are serious about reining in waste, fraud, and abuse, that Congress stands with the president. And I think that helps us right-size appropriations going forward, so that we can say we've already voted to claw this money back. We don't want to be spending money on NPR or PBS or USAID or woke critical race theory or whatever else we could be rescinding. So I think it's important that Congress has a role here. But if the president and his administration wants to go down the path of pocket rescissions, I am all for that. But what I would like to see going forward and in future appropriations bills, it is to right-size the budget process, to make these truly permanent, these DOGE cuts, so that we're not continuing to refund woke projects. And the more that we can vote on these rescission bills, the better.
Okay, but do you really think that the spending will come down in the appropriations process? So people understand this is basically Congress has this obligation, which it normally fails to fulfill. Usually we just get continuing resolutions forever. Congress very rarely votes on real appropriations bills. But if you're going to do it for real, are people actually going to cut spending? Like you walk the halls with these guys, Congressman. You talk to them. Is it all just lip service, or is it really going to happen?
Well, I can tell you the Republican conference is serious about cutting spending. That's why in the big, beautiful bill, we had the largest mandatory spending reduction in American history, $1.3 trillion. We rescinded $9 billion on the discretionary side just last week. What I'm going to be fighting for is to make sure that that doesn't get re-added, or if there's a CR that we can claw this money back, that we can carve it out, in other words, to make sure that we're not refunding these programs. I don't think that Republicans can go back to our voters and say that we voted to rescind money and then we just refunded it in the next CR, next appropriations bill. That's going to be a problem for us. So I'm going to be fighting to make sure that that does not happen.
Man. Okay, I love it. And finally, what is it like being Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law?
It makes for a particularly interesting Christmas dinner conversations and holiday conversations. So he's a great guy.
I was thinking that. I was like, what is Thanksgiving like? You know, what are the conversations like at that table? That must be awesome.
You know, he's a brilliant guy, brilliant thinker, somebody who can talk on any topic on politics or history or philosophy, as long as you want to hear. Ask him about anything you want, and he can lecture for an hour or two if you want to hear it.
It's so good. All right. Well, keep up the great work. Keep reading all of those lefty Twitter accounts before they show up to your various hearings. And we appreciate you, sir, Congressman. We'll have you back, Congressman Brandon Gill. Good to talk to you today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right. That was great. And okay, so while we were chatting with the congressman, a lot of things are happening. Tulsi Gabbard is, as I mentioned earlier in the program, declassifying more information this morning as we speak. What she just declassified is the old House Intelligence Oversight Majority report. That would have been Devin Nunes and company. They had a classified version of their report. She has now officially declassified it. And she, in her summary today, she says really obviously that there's a bunch of stuff that the Obama administration was lying about, that the report demonstrates what the truth actually is. She lists them out on her account today. She says the lie was that Putin and the Russian government helped Trump at all win the 2016 election. She says, no, the truth is Obama and Brennan and the rest of the gang fabricated all of this. They manufactured that finding. There was no intel to support that claim. And yet they insisted it in public anyway to try and ruin the incoming Trump presidency. Tulsi Gabbard emphasizing that. That's from the report today, all just declassified. Also, they said They claimed the lie was that the fabricated Steele dossier wasn't used at all as a source in that intelligence community assessment of January 2017. She emphasizes something that we've gotten a lot of pieces on already, that it was Brennan, it was Comey, it was Clapper who worked together to force the Steele dossier that was paid for and created by Hillary Clinton's campaign again to join that intelligence community assessment again to try and hurt the incoming president of the United States. Just the most disgusting behavior out of all these people. Also, another lie. The Obama administration's ICA was an independent intelligence community product. Is the lie that was produced with apolitical analysis. She says that this report, this declassified report, demonstrates that Obama ordered this assessment and they knew it was false, that they promoted a fake narrative, all with the intent of undermining the legitimacy and the power of a duly elected president, Donald Trump. And Tulsi Gabbard finishes today on this thread, pointing out what they've revealed here, that there's a lot more to come, but what they've revealed so far includes what they include so far includes 3 massive declassification efforts. The Justice Department's June 2018 report of the Clinton annex, that was declassified. The House Intel Oversight Report that Devin Nunes ran, that was just declassified. And all of those Director of National Intelligence records that kicked everything off on Friday. So Tulsi Gabbard, are we not pleased with her? I mean, she's doing her job. She's absolutely doing her job. And I can tell she's like me. She's like you. She wants prosecutions. They've been including the Justice Department in all of these conversations. Check it out, guys. Here's what we've got. The FBI is investigating this. Nobody knows this case better in the FBI than Kash Patel, who worked with Devin Nunes, and Dan Bongino. Both of these men wrote the literal books on the subject. Now at the top of the FBI. Now it's going to take prosecutions. Tulsi Gabbard is breathing down the neck of the Justice Department saying prosecute. The president is breathing down the neck of the Justice Department saying prosecute. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, I can tell you, I know in my gut, you know in your gut, they're breathing down the necks of the prosecutors at the Justice Department, prosecute. So will they do it? Will they do it? That's the big push. Prosecute. Prosecute. We need to restore order in the United States of America. This is the way to do it. I leave you today with a big win. I want to share one big victory for you. As reported by the New York Times, they're angry about it, which means it's good for the rest of us. The New York Times headline today: hospitals are limiting gender treatment for trans minors, even in blue states. Let me rephrase the distortion that the New York Times put on that headline. The Trump administration is shuttering child mutilation mills across the country. A massive success. They complain that 2 prominent medical centers in California are now sharply cutting back gender-related treatments, these abuses that they do to kids. That's because they're, quote, under pressure from the Trump administration. Children's Hospital Los Angeles on Tuesday shuttered its Center for Trans Youth Health and Development, one of the nation's oldest and largest clinics for transgender and gender nonconforming young people. This is where they affirm that abuse and mutilate these children. That they're shuttering that operation. Thank God. Stanford Medicine, as well, in the San Francisco Bay Area, has paused all of the surgical procedures that they've been doing on children, including new puberty blocker implants. Massive. Other hospitals in cities and states led by Democrats have also moved to get rid of all of this mutilation. The University of Chicago Medicine, UChicago Medicine, just announced last week it's ending all of the pediatric transition care. Days after another Chicago system, Rush University System for Health, said they were doing the same. Washington, D.C., Children's National Hospital has announced just this past week that they're discontinuing any more of this transition garbage starting August 30th. The University of Pittsburgh Medical Center said that they're no longer going to be doing this. No puberty blockers, no hormone therapy for kids under the age of 19. I'm telling you that this counts as yet another one of those wins that President Trump has warned everybody that you're going to get tired of. I'm not tired of it. Keep them coming. Glad to have them. I've got another big episode of Vince for you tomorrow. I've got the big Vince show, radio show coming up 12 to 3 Eastern today. You can watch it live, rumble.com/Vince. We've got some big guests too, I think, coming up on the show today. We're finalizing the details. Stand by for them. But it's going to be great. Appreciate you as always. Back with you tomorrow. Up next here on Rumble, I can't believe it. It's true. He has returned. Steven Crowder ahead.